Bears, this is the last attempt that I'm gonna do to try to help you to come to the conclusion that the four-year cycle theory is nonsense. Okay, I wrote a post on X. I've also posted a video if you rather watch that, and I want to go over this because I see people selling right now. They're fearful right now, and you know, with every 2% correction, there are people in the comments again saying, "Ah, I told you," but I never said that there cannot be a correction. But I am saying that the cycle is not over. And I'm also daring to say that, in my opinion, it is really freaking obvious, actually. So I know that I'm risking a lot, because if I'm wrong, you will never take me serious anymore again. And you can screen capture this video, I won't delete it. But I am that certain of it. Because the four-year cycle theory is called a theory for a good reason, because it's just a theory. And this theory is just, the more you look into it, the more bullshit it actually is. And after watching this video, if you have half a brain, bro, really, you won't believe in that theory anymore. I can guarantee you that, okay? So hear me out and go in this video unbiased. I know that there are people that are now perma bears and they feel like whatever reason or argument somebody gives are just gonna say ha, or no, it's going down, and not adding reasons. Do yourself a favor, you put your money into it or not or whatever, but it's risky to not be in a market as well, because we all know how crypto is made out of a big tampon factory, and that whenever we get the pump again, people, they YOLO back in, buy the top and get wrecked. It's the typical recipe, okay? So, okay, fair. At the moment, Bitcoin is going down. Yeah, I can see that. Does that mean that it is over? I think the reason that it is going down is partly a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that's up to a certain point, right? People, they think, well, four-year cycle, and therefore they sell. And that has an impact on Bitcoin. Matter of fact, Bitcoin is now down 4% over the last 24 hours. The low cap altcoin market is now at this moment down with 3.3%, actually, not that bad, over the last 24 hours. And people on Twitter, they're acting like the world, like it's over. I hope you didn't open X before TradingView this morning, because you probably thought that we were sitting at 50K, right? So let me share this with you. Now, I think, but it's also in the article that I wrote, worst case, depends on, but worst case scenario, 70K plus or minus. You have to wonder though, where we are right now, going down with another, what is it, 26%? Is that something that's worth freaking out about? That would be a total correction from top to bottom, right? 44%. Yeah, can we call that a bear market? I mean, we have seen mid-cycle corrections where Bitcoin went down harder than that. In the meantime, though, I do want to give myself a shout out, as everybody's only shouting at me, but the ETH trade on the 3rd of November played out perfectly, actually converting ETH to altcoins based on the risk levels that we offer soon on Blockchain Decoded. I mean, bull, bear market, if you trade one coin for another, you can still make money, and so far this is doing pretty well. So yay. But about actual dollars. Okay, let's talk about this. The reason, right? The reason people keep holding to the four-year cycle no matter what is because the 4 years crypto cycle marked 3 out of the 4 tops. And that's it. And for some reason, that's enough for people to call it a trend, a cycle, or even a certainty. Right? People seem to be so convinced right now that the top is in, and I don't know, maybe you have a different reason, so let me know down below. But the main reason is because, yeah, I mean, it's Q4 post-halving year, and hey, I was a big believer in that as well. And people say like, oh, now you're saying that this time. I'm learning, right? And I honestly think that, like, look further, right? If I knew what I know now, like a year ago, whatever, or 2 years, yeah, it would have been a lot better. But hear me out. Again, like I said, after this video, if you're still bearish, then it's a you problem. I'm sorry to put it like that, but it is. Okay, the only reason that people say 4 years is because of this top, and this top, right? What they seem to forget about the 4 year cycle, though, is this top. I mean, this was in the middle of the bull market, but crypto was new. And from here, it started to become accurate. Right? They also seem to forget about bottom to bottom. If you take it from the bottom, this was the lower low, to the next bottom, 1,200 days, was 3 years. And other than that, what else could make a 4-year cycle? A 4-year cycle, halvings, right? November 2012 till July 2016, 3.5 years. So there is nothing 4-year cycle about this 4-year cycle except only the last 3 tops. If that's for people enough to say like, well, but that's enough, that's it, then I have good news for you because I have something way more accurate. And in that case, your 4-year cycle is now off the table. Right? So let's talk about that. Look at what actually makes sense. And that is the business cycle. Okay, so let's first talk about the business cycle, why it even makes sense or makes more sense, and then look how it's way more accurate than this broken 4-year cycle theory. And again, it's probably the last video that I'm going to make about it because I made quite a lot, and the people that still stick to their beliefs, they just stick to the beliefs no matter what as well, right? So at a certain point, I feel like, okay, cool, I tried, let's move on. The ISM going up, right? The ISM manufacturing new orders for the United States. What it means is just businesses ordering new goods and products, right? And why do they do that? Because people, they buy these products. Now, if we look at the ISM, you can see that the ISM, and let me zoom out, I don't want to spoil, the ISM is sitting really low at the moment, right? So they're not ordering new products. Now, why are they not ordering new products? Because people don't have money to buy them, or even these businesses don't have money to buy these products. Okay, so if people don't have money to buy normal shit, like whatever it may be, a desk, a toaster, a cup of coffee, it doesn't matter, then they are not gonna pump your shit coins, right? If they don't have money for their needs and their whatever, then they are not gonna throw it into in Bitcoin, and especially not in that what's higher risk than Bitcoin, and that's the altcoin market. So, in my opinion, the first step is, well, that makes more sense than saying, well, it's November. Feel free to disagree, but I don't know. That's how I look at it. Now, let's take a look at the correlation. The business cycle marked 4 out of the 4 tops instead of Bitcoin marking 3 out of the 4 tops, right? Because although Bitcoin went down in 2011 here, that didn't fit the 4-year cycle theory, but what did? The ISM going down right there. But also, what you see is that the ISM in 2013, blue line, had a fat blow-off top. What did Bitcoin have? A fat blow-off top. In 2017, it had a pretty decent blow-off top. Bitcoin had a pretty decent blow-off top. In 2021, it did not have a blow-off top. It had a high, went down quite hard, had a new high, and then went down. Do I need to explain what Bitcoin did over there? Right, so the correlation is not only more accurate, it is way more precise and detailed as well. But that's not it. It also marked these crashes in between. If you look, 2012, August, right? 2012, you can see right here, the ISM was already going down. We were in a bear market. The ISM was going up again. Bitcoin was going up. And then the ISM went down. And the bottom in 2012. Now let me get to the Bitcoin chart right here, and let me open it on a different thing so we can switch faster, right? But if we now look at Bitcoin, what happened in August 2012? This right here. Bitcoin went from $15 to less than $7, at more than a 50% correction. What a coincidence, right? Then, for example, we had a crash in April 2013 on the ISM. All right, so if you go to April 2013, it went down quite hard there. If you go to Bitcoin, April 2013, what is this? A 75% crash. You know where this is going? Same in 2016. AKA, it's not only more accurate than the 4-year cycle, but it also explains why Bitcoin goes down. And that's because macro was not looking really good at that moment. So it's not up to Bitcoin. If it was up to Bitcoin, Bitcoin would not have that crash, right? Well, so apparently it's not up to Bitcoin. Also, it marked the altcoin pump in Q4 2024, last year, right? We had an altcoin outperformance a little bit against Bitcoin, not really an alt season or anything. But if you look, they had a good moment right here, right? Altcoins, they went up, whoop, October, November, December 2024 against Bitcoin. Was a pretty good period right there. Why? Well, if you look at the ISM, what happens right here? You cannot make this up anymore, right? Again, if you look at this and you believe in the 4-year cycle, you either can now sit behind your screen and be very stubborn, like, yeah, okay, but I'm still gonna fucking type some, or you can just like, okay, right? At least consider it. Right? If you consider just 3 times being a trend, then this should be like the most biggest guarantee ever, right? Now, also, people about altcoins. Right, Altseason also only started whenever the ISM was already sitting high, and that makes sense, right? Like if the ISM is sitting high, it means there's a lot of money in the system, and then people really bet on altcoins. Now people say Altseason did not happen yet because alts are dead. No, the ISM is not there. And if you want extra proof for that it's not an altcoin problem, then just take a look at the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, right? So the low caps versus the high caps. Overlay the Russell against the S&P, so the low shitcoin companies against the big companies, and tell me that this chart is not green and the bars exactly the same. So this shows like, yeah, either this is getting really coincident, but really, 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 or, but you cannot believe in that much coincidence, right? Or this is indeed macro related. And does it make sense that crypto money moves based on liquidity? No way. Yeah, good, right? We had all these blow of tops. And now also the ISM is kind of moving slow but steady. Just like Bitcoin. And if you look at the ISM, yeah, it's going up, right? Makes higher lows, makes high highs, but it's not like bam. And for the first cycle ever, Bitcoin is not going vertical and having a euphoria stage. Look, I mean, how much do you want? Right? This shows perfectly also, for example, COVID. Right? Did crypto go down during COVID because just crypto saw COVID and thought we go down? No, there was no money in the system. This went down. So now the thing is, people call it 3 times on Bitcoin a trend and a way more accurate correlation with the business cycle that also makes it make sense, a coincidence. Find me someone that might know someone who thinks this makes any sense, right? I honestly, I understand that a lot of people don't even look at this chart, don't even know what it is, and therefore only know about the cycle and be like, well, 1, 2, 3, trend, right? But if you start to look further into this and you know about this now, then it seems kind of hard for me to imagine that you still think that this is nonsense and that the 4-year cycle is an actual thing, right? Then I don't know what to say, actually. You could say the ISM will never go up again, right? People love to see the glass not even half empty, but just a shredded glass. Well, the ISM is not going there anymore. This is an oscillator for the last 75 years. Believe me, this will go up again. It slowly goes like lower highs. Again, businesses ordering new things, like, yeah, this is okay with the internet now. There are people ordering shit online, all mass orders from big companies, AliExpress and all, where the fuck you like, okay, yeah, of course that diminished a little bit, but it is a long-term trend, a long-term, decades. So this will go up again. Then we all have the question, like, when ISM? Well, that's the question. And from its current level, it took an average of 8 months. And so I just looked at, hey, where is it right now? And how long did it take on average to get back to the higher levels? And that's average 8 months. Doesn't mean that it will be 8 months. It's average. Right? So that could be Q3 2026. So the people that say like, well, you're not saying that this time is different. Well, yeah, no. I mean, is it not different? Yeah, it's not different. I mean, the ISM had way more cycles where here it topped out in 2009, here it topped out in 2004, even in 2003, right? So yeah, in macro, there are 4-year cycles, but there are also a lot of 5-year cycles, right? If it's always 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, then fuck crypto, just go trade the S&P, you know exactly when to buy, when to sell. If it's that easy, no problem. Like, you don't need a job anymore. It's not like that. It's 4-year, 5-year, right? But crypto just wasn't around back then to witness that, right? Crypto came out when the ISM was already overheated and it was going up. But after Bitcoin was there for a while and the ISM finally had a real move down, Bitcoin right away followed it, right? But before that, if Bitcoin existed right here, Bitcoin would have had that 5-year cycle and people would never had the idea about a 4-year cycle in the first place, all right? And like I showed, in 2011, we had a bear market after 2 years. Right, but that doesn't fit the 4-year cycle theory. So people just say like, well, it was new, so there wasn't a 4-year cycle yet. So it was already doing what it was supposed to do, right? More volatile for sure. Therefore, it blew up so much and therefore it went down so much. But this midterm correction, whatever you want to call it, was bigger than any bear market we have ever seen. If we would have had this right now in 2023, right, same as 2011, according to the 4-year cycle, people would have said like, okay, Bitcoin going down 2023 with 90% to 3K. Yeah, no, 4-year cycle off the table, right? But because it happened all the way back there, it's not relatable. And therefore people still feel like the 4-year cycle exists in the first place. So what about a bear market in the meantime? I think worst case is 70K. And I gave in another video a couple reasons for that. I'm not going to repeat all of that. But one thing that you can look at is like, well, I mean, Bitcoin like never went into that very fat parabolic run. So why will it go end up in a very fat parabolic bear market, right? However, Bitcoin only goes in bear markets when the ISM tanks, right? And that's what you can see right here very well as well, right? Bitcoin goes into a bear market because the ISM comes from the top and goes down, right? Bitcoin goes into a bear market, ISM going down really hard. Bitcoin going down in a bear market, ISM going down really hard. Bitcoin going down in a bear market, ISM going down really hard. Whenever the ISM is kind of ranging or slowly moving up, yeah, Bitcoin just fucks around at that level as well, right? You see it every market. So if the ISM were to go down here, which I don't think it will, but it could. Then I can see why Bitcoin might go to around 70K. But yeah, it's open for interpretation if we can say like, well, is that a bear market or not? Right? And then you will get like, oh, the bears were right. No, the bulls were right. In fact, nobody was right because everybody is looking at the wrong cycle in the first place. Right? Now, you might ask, what makes it go up? Money. Right, money in the system. If businesses have no money, like if borrowing money is very expensive, yeah, then they're never gonna like. If people don't have money to buy shit, then the ISM is not gonna go up. They're not gonna order new shit. So, what is money? Good inflation data, right? It's one of them. It's not like it's kind of in the middle right now, but also rate cuts. Oh shit! I typed rats cuts. We can cut some rats as well. You know what I mean? Rate cuts. We have rate cuts right now, right? And even though they're now saying like they want to be a little cautious, like, well, we don't know if we do it in December. Fuck December. We know what's going to happen in May. Powell is going to get kicked off of his chair and they're going to set someone there who's very dovish. So, yeah, then like worst case, we fuck around until May and then we go up. And it's okay. If you expect something like that, then it can't hurt, right? So rate cuts. And no QT at least, right? QT is also literally the Fed taking liquidity out of the system. What a coincidence, right? If you overlay the Fed balance sheet here, right? You see that the Fed balance sheet is going down during the same period where the freaking ISM and Bitcoin started to go down. So we just need QT to stop And from the 1st of December, QT is going to stop. And there is even something called stealth QE. It's not really QE, but they find some backdoors to kind of do it anyway. But maybe if the market hits a Fed recession or whatever, they will like... And you could, again, advocate of the devil, right? You could say like, well, the ISM could do something like this, right? And then it's all fucked, right? We had that during COVID. We had that during the big financial crisis. Yeah, but guess what? If that happens... You know how hard these money printers started to work right here? Then it's only getting temporary wrecked. And if you are lucky enough to buy that legendary dip, you are set for life. And if you know that, if you bought the COVID dip, then congrats, right? So the absolute worst case scenario that I see right here is that the macro is still going to be like a little disappointing for a couple months, right? And that the ISM might go down to around 45 and that Bitcoin leads into like, I don't know, 70K-ish. And that's it. That's it, right? You might wonder like, oh yeah, but then altcoins tank a lot. That depends what altcoins do against their Bitcoin pair. To be fair, people who have been calling for an alt season, they were wrong. Me as well. Right, about the timing. People to call it to go lower, they were just as wrong. We are at the same level as where we were in August 2024. Right, so I feel like, man, even if this plays around a little bit like this, altcoins might just go down just as hard as Bitcoin. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Right, QT stopping, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually where that shift then also happens, where Bitcoin goes down, but QT stops, so altcoins go down less, and then whales put their money in Bitcoin from Bitcoin into altcoins because they see Bitcoin is no longer profitable, and that starts the alt season. Like, it's not all that weird, actually. So, rate cuts, no QT. Check and check. So, please stop stressing out about a broken trend, which means nothing on its own. Right? Again, the only thing were 3 tops. Well, here you have the full correlation, right? And start looking at what actually drives this market, which is liquidity and not astrology. So if you still really think the 4-year cycle is all there is, like I said, I guess it's a you problem. And because there will always be people that say, no, down, no matter what. Yeah, look, being a perma bear is just not wise. Being a perma bull is not wise. Whenever the ISM is hitting high, right, that's where the party usually starts. I'm not like looking at the ISM by then and right away start being bearish necessarily. As you can see right here as well, whenever the ISM hit these high levels, that's why Bitcoin started to go parabolic. Hit these levels, Bitcoin started to go parabolic. Hit these levels, oh yeah, it was a blow off top, so fair enough. Here, hit these levels, Bitcoin started to go parabolic. For altcoins, it's the same case. But it's at least the level where I will be careful and watch out, right? But for now, to say like, well, that's it, and ISM will never go up again, where are we getting this from, right? And the fact that I know how people react, right? Like yesterday as well, I dropped a video about how the long term looks good, and then Bitcoin crashes 3%, and people in the comments try to make fun of it or something like, dude, like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not making trading content. I'm not making content today to say what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't give a fuck what happens today. I don't care what happens tomorrow, because my long-term outlook is just really bullish. And in that case, the lower it goes, the more opportunity it is. I'm not buying falling knives every day. I have cash. I've said that many times. I always have cash. And I have, well, probably more like 30% cash because my crypto is just down a little bit. But overall, down is an opportunity in this case. And sometimes here down is not an opportunity, right? Here it's just, hey, the whole business cycle, the macro is reversing. That's just down, it's just bad. Sit it out, right? Here and now down, like we're on the way up. Last thing before I'm gonna knock it off, just like do whatever you want, right? But I'm only saying this in my best interest for you as well. And for my own reputation, of course, because I feel like I'm the one of the few people that's still bullish. And that's good for me, because I think that if it plays out like this, which is way most obvious expectation, that then hopefully people will come back later at the channel and be like, yes, this is one I'm going to follow, right? But what if you have, like in the last cycles, sold your Bitcoin because you think that this was it, at this level from the ISM. You would have sold here at 9K, before it went to 70. You would have sold your Bitcoin here at 400 before it went to 20,000. And you would have sold right around here, depends a little bit where you take it, at $15 before it went to 1,000. Dude, you can try to fight a trend which is 100% accurate. For sure, try, go, do your best. But consider, if you are wrong about that, do you feel okay being sidelined when the real rally is happening? If your honest answer to yourself, not to me, but to yourself, is yes, you are okay with that and you can sit it out and wait for the next cycle, then fine, right? But I think that most people are, and the fear and greed index shows, right? Like we, at the moment, we have a fear and greed index of 15, right? The fear and greed index just shows that people can't, right? Whenever the market is down a little bit, the sentiment is bad, really bad, right? So whenever we do turn up again, the sentiment will be terrific. Yeah, are you gonna be the one that's like then saying like, I can ignore all of that, doesn't matter, it doesn't do anything to me? I don't know, right? And in the short term, I don't know. Look, I mean, here the fear and greed was really low, it was 10, right? And eventually it went higher, but in the meantime, Bitcoin went from 84K to around 76K, right? So I'm not saying that this is a bottom marker, but I'm saying that if you look so far, only this cycle, right? Look at the low sentiment. This was bam, the local bottom area. This was bam, the local bottom area, and bam, here we are again. And I'm not saying that it like the low is in today. I got a comment lately as well, like, I just don't agree that you say the low is in. I never said the low is in. I'm not saying that the top is in for Bitcoin based on what I just showed. And I honestly cannot imagine how you can believe in a 4-year cycle with only 3 accuracy points and not believe in that what actually makes sense and that wipes the whole 4-year cycle off of the table when it comes to accuracy. That's just purely being biased, right? And why then why do we see that correction right now? The ISM kind of already showed that there is a correction coming. But plus, like I said, I think it is somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy till a certain point. People think the top is in, so they're going to sell. Yeah, of course that has an impact, but not enough to lead everybody into a bear market, because the people that are now selling are the same people that said that it was never going to go up that much, because institutions are now leading the game. So we don't have too much emotional retail to sell all the way down to 30K or whatever your target may be. I don't think I am able to make a better video on my outlook to describe my outlook better than what I just did. So I'm going to pin this video on my channel. And I cannot also, again, if we next week, next month go down, you can comment with ha. But again, jokes isn't on me. The joke isn't on the people who prepare for this, right? Because again, if we know that the longer term outlook is freaking amazing, then the shorter terms are only opportunities. And to be honest, all the opportunities that I took on this channel publicly so far, people are having the same comments as now, right? The April low as well. They're saying, you're stupid for buying. Yeah, I don't know who had the last laugh. Yeah, it's going down right now. Yeah, if you don't take your profits, then but I sounded like a black woman. But to be honest, take your profits. It's part of the game. All right, so we can look at the lines and moving averages and, well, Bitcoin closed below this moving average. It's all nonsense. All right, short term, it means something, sure. But at the end of the day, it's all nonsense. All right, just like that 50 weekly moving average that everybody is now talking about to wrap it up. Look at the altcoin market right here. All right, look at it. Let's apply the 50 weekly moving average on this. You see how this was always in the bull market a great indicator, and once it like closed below it, it was a bear market, right? Bull market, great indicator. Bear market closed below it, bear market. What are we doing right now? It's not accurate anymore. We closed below it multiple times already since 1.5 years ago and still went up. Why is it not accurate? Because the market, there's more liquidity right now, right? The returns are diminishing. It moves slower. And therefore, the shorter term moving averages are being hit more often. And it's not that famous support line or resistance line anymore. At a certain point, they all become inaccurate. And you should take a look at, I don't know for how long it stays accurate, but for example, the hundreds or something, right? This, you could say like, oh, this is now the line here, bounce, 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 right? And then that becomes inaccurate at a certain point. And then we have a new, it doesn't matter. That's not like, that's a short term something to trade nice until it doesn't work anymore. You know what will always work? The actual liquidity that pumps Bitcoin or altcoins. So I hope. I found it. To be honest, I find it such a shame that there are these channels out there that talk a lot of crap and they get so many views, and that I feel like, well, maybe this is what we should look at. And that this gets like maybe 1,500 on a good day nowadays. I feel like shit, man. How? Please share it. Please share it, man. So I want to wrap it up right here. At least take it into consideration, okay? And like I said before, even if we get such a correction for alt season, that's a good thing. That's really the last thing. But in case you missed it, oh, Bitcoin, I'm going, fuck it. But why is that actually a good thing? Because alt season never started on Bitcoin going up, despite what some people say, because they look at the wrong charts. Altcoins without stables on their Bitcoin pair. You cannot have a better reflection of an alt season chart than this one. Okay, if you overlay Bitcoin, what do you notice? We had an alt season right here. This right here was exactly where Bitcoin went down 30% for first time basically after a rally. And here in 2017, we had an alt season started right here. Bam! That was exactly at the Bitcoin blow off top. Right, so even if Bitcoin does go into a bear market, you could still have an alt season. So I feel like, man, it's very easy now to be bearish because everybody is bearish, right? Everybody is. It's the same as being bullish when everybody is bullish. It's the same as selling the fear, and it's the same as buying the greed. Yeah, ask yourself, when does that work? It doesn't. Please do something with this, guys. I'm only saying this to help you. And not because I make so much money off of these videos or whatever. Okay? That's it. Take care. If you want to join the Alpha Factory where you can do one-on-one calls with me to like apply this to your own situation, there's a link in the pinned comment. Like, you might want to check it out instead of being in some fucking paid call group or whatever, right? Because again, a small group in crypto wins, right? Therefore, these people make so much money because a lot of people have to lose. Yeah, everybody's now collectively calling for a bear market. I mean, let's do the math. Thanks for watching. Like the video. Take care.